So I'm going to start with a joke because it's after lunch, and why not? So let me ask you a question first. Did you know 3/4 of marketers in industry today produce at least one piece of content every single day? How many knew that? A few of us. Those who do it, back, there you go. Stu Kent's director of marketing, does it every day, right? So that is why ChatGPT and coffee have become a marketer's best friend. Why? Because we're producing so much content today. That's actually my area of expertise. That is what I'm studying for my doctorate in marketing. My area of expertise is content marketing. That's why ChatGPT is real near and dear to my heart, because it's making it easier for us. I still do quite a bit of consulting as well as teach. I've been at Point Loma for 10 years, 7 years as an adjunct, and then I changed my entire career during the pandemic. I wouldn't advise that, 3 years ago to come on full time. But I also created the digital marketing and the content marketing courses at Point Loma in 2017 and launched them in 2018. And unlike our finance and accounting counterparts, I don't get to have the same course every single semester. Anybody else like that? We're always having to change, right? The course every single semester. ChatGPT did not do any different for us, right? So we're all trying to figure this out together. I'm going to offer you up some of the insight that I've gained by other professors that I've connected with all over the U.S., as well as some of what I've learned this last year in implementing it. So be nice, because we're all learning this together. I don't have all the answers, but hopefully we'll have more at the end of this than we did at the beginning. All right, so let's dive in. One of the reasons why this became so important at Point Loma for us is in the spring, we had a job fair for internships and for our graduates to get hired upon graduation. And we have a lot of chief marketing officers that come to our job fair. Thankfully, in San Diego, we're very well connected. So we had Padres there. We had the Rady Children's Hospital. Thermo Fisher, you might know, they did all of the testing for COVID. They're pretty big in San Diego. NuVasive is a global med device company, billion-dollar company. So we have a lot of heavy hitters that came. And they're at our job fair, and they're like, Christina, well, it's really nice that you have your students who know how to build a website and who have social media marketing experience. That's awesome. Can any of them do prompts? And I was like, I think a couple of them can. Now, this is in February, okay? So we're still real new to the game. And I'm like, I think a couple do. And they said, I will hire those students today. I'm not going to wait. I'll take 5 hours a week. I'll take whatever I can get if you know anyone who knows how to do prompts. I was like, oh my gosh, I better figure this out. If I want to help our students be marketable and be hireable, I better figure out how to do this, right? So that is what led me on the endeavor of trying to incorporate ChatGPT in the classroom. So this is what we're going to chat about today. There is so much that we could talk about. I only have a little bit of time, and I'm going to try to stick to it, okay? So we're going to talk about how some professors other than me are doing it in the classroom. At the very end, I'll show you what I did in terms of assignments in the classroom. We're going to talk about what prompt engineering actually is in higher education. There's a ton of definitions out there. I'm going to offer you up one that I think is applicable to us, and then the skills that our students can use to level up. But let's first chat. I would love to know, by a show of hands, just to know what I'm working with, how many in here have used ChatGPT or some form of AI in your course this past? Wow, that is impressive. Can you hold your hands up a little higher? That's about half of the room. Wow, give yourselves a round of applause. That is a lot more than what I have found just talking to people online. That's incredible. Okay, so for those of you who raised your hand, why did you choose to incorporate in your class? Who would like to start? Yes.
If we don't embrace what's happening around us, we're just going to get run over. So I'm going to go in, and even though I'm running with them, but I refuse to like put my head in the sand.
Very nice. Anyone else?
I don't like it when my students know more than I do.
That's the best answer. I love that. Anyone else? Oh, love that. Very creative.
My advisor said, man, I'm doing this, then not do it, we need it.
So you and I are in the same boat. That's why I started it too, is because I thought, whoa, if the people hiring want it, then I better figure out how to try to at least teach a little bit. For those who didn't, so about the other half of the room, why not? Okay, that's a good reason. Anyone who taught last semester and decided not to.
Mine's similar. The courses I was teaching last semester weren't necessarily, but I would formulate those plans to use it in the fall.
Very good. Any others?
I felt like I didn't really know enough to do it and then be able to catch them if they were, I don't know, cheating would be applicable, but I didn't know enough to outsmart them on it. I felt like I needed to be ahead of what I knew about it, ahead of them. So I just was like,
So you're just waiting,
I just
kind of in a hold.
I need to do some more research. I need to explore it. I used it myself for the first time, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, okay, so now I need to figure out how to use it for a class.
So that's the number one reason why most of us aren't, is because we just don't have the information yet, right? It is new, so don't beat yourself up. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have an idea or two. That's the goal. All right, so Richard, the CEO of the International Society for Technology and Education, says we need to be asking what we can do to prepare young people, learners, for a future that's not that far in the future, right? So that's what we're here to talk about today. So let's dive into it. ChatGPT in the classroom. How do we actually do this? I love data. We're educators, right? So I kind of wanted to go and find out how many people are actually doing this. It's interesting because the room is similar to the data that's out there. So half of educators and a third of students use ChatGPT in K through 12, which I thought was fascinating because it means students are already familiar with this by the time they get to us. So we have to be familiar with it as well, right? And of the educators, now this was a survey that was just conducted in February in the United States. Over 1,000 educators and over 1,000 students were surveyed. And 88% of educators said it actually had a positive impact on critical thinking for students in K through 12. Imagine what it can do for college students, right? And the majority of educators agreed with the statement that ChatGPT is just another example of why we can't keep doing things the same way, right? I think most of us, regardless of whether we want to embrace ChatGPT or AI in general, it's here to stay. Especially as Stu mentioned earlier today, ChatGPT and AI is now more accessible for businesses globally than it's ever been before, right? We're seeing small businesses use it. We're seeing people have the capability to actually do this. It's not just for the big heavy hitters anymore like Coke or those who have the funds to pay for it. Right? And I don't know about you, but most of our students, they get placed in small businesses. Most of our students are not getting placed in the big heavy hitters, right? So I teach a lot to how does a small business use this? There are so many ways that it can help increase efficiency and effectiveness for small businesses in particular. So we've got to be at least looking at this. Like you said, we've got to be learning about this and finding out more information. Dr. Donahoe at the University of Mississippi, I love some of what she has published in some recent literature. She says that ChatGPT has actually helped her engage or see more engagement among her students. The big reason why is because before it was write a blog or a paper and submit it. So students were really interested in the output, right? I'm interested in the end result. But we've lost that learning process. We've lost embracing what it means to get to the end. And what people have found who are doing this in the classroom is that ChatGPT can actually help you bring back that learning process. Why? Because they have to analyze the copy that comes from AI to decide if it's relevant for the business. They actually have to read what they wrote and submitted. Imagine that. Imagine if our students read what they wrote. Then imagine if we took it a step further and not only did they read what they wrote, but now they have to be able to articulate to us why that copy is effective for that particular industry or business. That is what educators like Dr. Donahoe are finding is that Bloom's taxonomy, which we've been using for decades as educators, ChatGPT is helping with analysis and evaluation tools, which research over the last 10 years has shown that students in higher education, that has been decreasing at an alarming rate. So some of us who are embracing ChatGPT are hopeful that it's going to bring back that analysis and evaluation component of Bloom's taxonomy. So I would just encourage you that maybe that reason alone might be one for you to get more information about. And then Dr. Donahoe, in terms of how she applies ChatGPT in her course, she instructed her students to use ChatGPT to generate an argument essay, and then had them annotate it according to how effective they thought the argument was for a specific audience. So she gave them a case. The students submitted a rewrite based on their own criticism of the argument generated by ChatGPT. That's that analysis and evaluation component, right? So before, I know for me in particular, I was always write a 2,000-word blog on this particular topic and submit it, and then I graded them just based on how well they wrote. Now, with how I've changed it in the classroom, I'm actually evaluating them not on how well they're writing, because AI is doing most of it for them, but they're actually telling me why that writing is going to work for that business. So we're elevating that particular skill set. All right. So what is prompt engineering? Because there are a whole lot of different definitions of what is out there. I love what David Smith, he's a professor of bioscience, which I think is interesting. Not just us marketers are using it. I actually saw a lot of professors across disciplines using ChatGPT in the classroom when I did a bunch of the research over the spring. But David Smith, he says, knowing the words to use in a prompt and then understanding the output that comes back is what's most important to be teaching our students. Again, you can see this analysis component. See, before we were just having them write 2,000 words of a blog on a particular topic. Okay, that's good, but let's be real. Most of them were copying and pasting what's out on the internet anyways, right? So they were writing, but were they really understanding the assignment? Now we're actually making them understand how to put in to ChatGPT something that's relevant for them to get a good output. Because AI works the same way as databases did back then. Bad input is going to give you bad output. So if you don't understand and analyze what you need to put into the system, it's not going to generate anything of use out of the system. So that's the critical thinking. Students have to actually think about what I'm putting in order to decide if what I get out is what is going to give me most credit for this particular assignment. Does that make sense? So that's what we're finding. The definition I like to use with my students is that prompt engineering is the technique of crafting effective input queries that guide AI models like ChatGPT to produce desired outputs. And you can do just about anything with AI and ChatGPT. It's not just text. Microsoft Designer is another really cool tool if you haven't used it. I have my students use it to develop flyers, event flyers, brochures, different things like that. There's all sorts of tools out there besides just text that you can get. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to input into ChatGPT or some kind of AI tool relevant information so that we get out what we're looking for. And I'm going to show you the top 4 tips that there are in just a minute. So this is the definition that we've been using. I love the Future of Marketing Institute. If you haven't checked out that site, you should. They have a lot of good information. If you want to be kind of ahead of the curve or be trending with where things are going, I really like the Future of Marketing Institute. They have a really great blog that you can check out with all sorts of good information. All right, so what are the skills that students need to level up? Now, the top 2 are not going to surprise you. The third, we had a great conversation about it at lunch. It probably won't surprise you as well. But based on SHRM, as well as SHRM, so the Society of Human Resources Management, as well as data that we did in San Diego among the major employers in our area, showed that the top 3 skills that employers are looking for from graduates, these are college graduates, number 1 is communication. Students, most of our students don't even know how to have a conversation anymore. They've lost that ability to, right? I had 3 graduates last May lose their job within 6 months. And they all came to me and said, oh my gosh, what do I do? I said, go back and ask why. They did. And I had 2 of them come back and tell me, and they said, My boss told me that he didn't know me. I was producing pretty good work, but I had no idea who I really was. I didn't show any interest because I wasn't really engaging. I said, did you have a conversation? You were in the office. Well, not really. Why would I have a conversation? I'll just email. Well, that's why you lost your job. Right? So we got to try to help our students to enhance their communication skills. Number 2, critical thinking and problem solving. I don't know about you, but in San Diego, this is the biggest gripe from employers. They feel as though students know how to do what you tell them to do, but that's it. They don't know how to go much beyond that. They don't know how to offer up a solution to a problem in the business. They're just going to complain about it. They're happy to come and tell you what's not working, but they don't want to offer up any solutions, right? And this is what we're finding with ChatGPT. I think when I show you how I used it in certain assignments, you'll see they're having to actually think through what are problems, what are solutions, how do we fix things, right? You're not just giving me a paper. I want you to actually think through the assignment so you fully understand it. And then research. In marketing in particular, I find this is a big skill that most employers are looking for. They want, because technology is changing industry so quickly, right? Most hiring managers can't even keep up. They want junior marketers, entry-level students, to be able to come and tell them, hey, this is a trend that's happening. Have you checked it out? Can we use it for our business? Yes or no, right? Can students go out and do any kind of research to come up with solutions to problems? And so what we're finding is with ChatGPT, it's producing a ton of material in the query output, right? And students have to sift through all that's given to them to find the right either headline or the right copy or the right output for the business. So they're actually forced to have to do quite a bit of research. And again, because I love data, 1/3 of businesses in the U.S. plan to hire prompt engineers this year. So it's becoming a massive job out there. 80% of the U.S. workforce will see the impact of AI tools on 10% of tasks. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was going to be higher. I thought AI would replace more tasks in marketing, but it's not. What we're finding is it's helping with ideation. A lot of students, especially younger, are having a problem coming up with new ideas. So if 3/4 of marketers are producing one piece of content every day, and these are global businesses, imagine how many pieces of content that is. I'll just explain one. There's over 7 million blogs posted every single day on Google. So how in the world are you able to cut through that kind of noise? Right? AI is just helping students brainstorm, helping small businesses that don't have large marketing departments ideate without spending a ton of money. It's just getting things started. It's actually not replacing all the human elements necessary. I think for me, that was a big fear. It's like, oh, how dare you take away my writing? I'm a writer. And I was so upset. And then I realized, oh, it actually just helps me become a better writer. Okay, I'll get behind this, right? So it's not replacing as much as you thought, at least not right now. That's what the data is showing right now. And then 97 million of jobs globally will be displaced by AI. It doesn't mean that jobs are going away. It means that jobs are transitioning, which we've seen that happen even just with content marketing, right? With social media, we've seen jobs transition and change. So AI is just going to transition jobs. It's not necessarily going to take away. So we as educators hopefully can embrace this and give the tools to our students that they need to be hireable. That's the hope. So here are the top 4 ways that a student can learn how to develop a prompt. Now, there are so many templates out there for how to develop prompts, okay? If you Google, Stu said it this morning, right? He said, Google ChatGPT for marketers. You're going to find HubSpot. You're going to find all sorts of experts that are going to give you a ton of templates for how to develop a prompt, okay? There's a ton of contradictory information out there as well. Like you'll see some prompt templates, they're like a paragraph. And then you'll see other prompt templates will be a few words. So what do we do? How do we actually do this? I culminated a bunch of the information, and I put it into these top 4 tips. The first one is less is more. You want your prompt that you put into ChatGPT, you want that prompt to be roughly 10 words. That's kind of the sweet spot. So for somebody who's long-winded like me, students that are similar, you really have to work at less is more. You want to be as specific as possible as you can. It's the only way you're going to get a relevant output. I love this. Verbs matter. We're going back to grammar. So students actually have to know what a verb is to be able to put it in to ChatGPT, right? So again, they're having to actually analyze those 10 words, and they don't have as much space. So what we're seeing is they do actually have to take some time to figure that out, okay? A thesaurus, oh my gosh, how many times? I have this in every single class. I don't think a single student ever uses it. I link it on all of my writing assignments and nobody does, right? But really with a thesaurus, what it means is oftentimes you'll put into ChatGPT a prompt, right? You're asking it, okay, let's write a blog for this industry with this many words, okay? That's the prompt that you're putting in. And then you get the output, you're like, that's not really gonna work. That's not gonna make anybody stop out of the 7 million blogs and read mine. So I gotta go back to ChatGPT and I have to kind of keep refining it. That's how AI works. The more that you refine, the more that you finagle the words, the better output you're gonna get because you're teaching it how to give you an output that you want. Okay, so students actually have to go through the revision process, again, part of that analysis, right? They're evaluating, did I put a good output, did I put a good input in to get the output I want? And then intent. You actually have to know the assignment. Who loves memes? I'm a big meme lover. I love all those memes that they did not get the assignment. They didn't understand the assignment. Those are our students, I feel like. So many of them, right? But with ChatGPT, in order for them to get a relevant output that they can actually use for an assignment for an actual business, they have to understand what they're putting in. They have to actually know the assignment and what they're trying to do. So what I've seen is my students actually read the assignment. Imagine that. We put all that time into the description. Isn't it amazing when they actually read it? When I was doing this in class, because I'll show you how I did it in just a minute. I'll show you the assignments I did. I can't tell you, it just made my heart so warm because I'm looking at them and they're like reading at least the first paragraph. I was like, thank you. Because before, they just don't, right? They see write a blog for 2,000 words. Oh, I got this, no problem. I'm going to go out and do it. I'll go source all the stuff that's out there in Google. Now they actually have to understand the assignment because they're trying to write a prompt to get a certain output from the system. It's a lot more technical, and it actually does elevate them more than you would think. All right, so how do we do this? This is what I did. So these are just a few examples. I want to just preface this by saying there are so many different types of assignments out there. Again, if you were to just research, if you just put into Google sample assignments using ChatGPT, you will get a slew of them. I'm going to show you what I actually did. And I'm going to show you examples of what the students work so that you can see how it kind of elevated. So let's start with keyword research. I don't know about you, I'm a big SEO fan. But as somebody told me on the bus yesterday going to Yellowstone, it's like watching paint dry. It takes forever, right? It's really hard to teach SEO. It's really hard to teach it in a classroom environment. So I have found that ChatGPT helped tremendously. Students actually were excited to do SEO. So I found that to be really helpful. I'll show you how we changed a homepage headline for a real business in San Diego, and then I'll show you some blog and headlines and email subject lines. So let's get into it. All right, so keyword research. This is an example of a prompt. Again, there are a ton out there. I love LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning, they have some really innovative stuff when it relates to prompt engineering. So if you want more information, I'm just touching the surface, right? So I would go to LinkedIn Learning. I found a ton of really good information. So here's what I do. In my course, in my digital marketing course, they have to develop a website for their own business. They have to come up with their own business. And they develop a website. And then what we try to do is their website, it's a WordPress website. They publish it live in my class, and we try to see if it's going to rank on page 1 of Google, right? And so in order for them to rank, they have to know how to do keyword research. Most of them don't. So what I do is I use Dr. Kate Eaton this morning from ASU. I don't think she's in here. Do you remember how she said, give them time in class to do assignments? I'm a big fan of that, been doing that for several years. So what I do is, using ChatGPT, I have them first in class with me, and we are on a cliff overlooking the ocean, if you don't know Point Loma. So our Wi-Fi is spotty. It's not very good, which is to my benefit in class, because it forces them to have to open up Microsoft Word instead of go and find it on the internet. So what I do, the assignment is, in class, after I've taught them about SEO, they come up with their top 25 keyword list for their business to rank for their website. So they do that with me, just brainstorming themselves. Then I say, go home, use ChatGPT, and have them come up with 25 keywords for you to help you rank. And then the last part of the assignment is, decide on the actual 25 based on your analysis of what you came up with and what ChatGPT came up with. Then you have to tell me why your final list of 25 is going to be effective for the business. It has worked really well. I've seen a lot of good results. I've seen even better results doing it with homepage headlines. So we had a nonprofit in San Diego. They were funding research to find a cure for type 1 diabetes. I used them in our class in terms of redesigning their home page. And so what I did is the same kind of principle. So I had my students look at the homepage of the website, and I said, I want you here with me in class to draft a headline, a hook, the first thing that people see on the homepage of the website, right, for this business. So they did. What you see is the draft that we came up with as a class. We kind of did it together, had them brainstorm, and then we came up with it as a class. Not very good. I said, okay, go home. Now put into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to give you a prompt back. They brought back all the different ideas that they were. We culminated them and came up with this one, gave it to the business. It's live on their website. So really cool. The students got to see their work happen immediately with the business. We do the same thing with blogs, same thing with email subject lines. So in the website that my students create, they also have to write a 2,000-word blog introducing their website, right? We're launching this new business. They're going to write this blog. So they have to come up with a blog headline. So this was one of my students is a singer. So she created a website to help new singers get discovered on YouTube. Her first blog headline, not very good, right? Again, we're trying to cut through the noise. That's not going to cut through the noise. Nobody's going to really stop there. So I said the same thing. You draft it with me without using ChatGPT. Now go use it. Come back and give me the final headline. And this is the final headline that you can see. Much better. Much more likely to have someone stop and actually read that particular blog. We did the same thing with emails. That's how I've been using it. There's loads of different ways, but I just wanted to offer that up to you. Here are my references, which there are a million out there. Any questions? All right. Thanks for joining.